You ever feel that pull to do something, not really because you want to, but just because it seems like everyone else is? It's this powerful, invisible force, and it shapes thousands of our decisions every single day, from what we buy to how we act in an emergency. So today, we're going to crack the code on this phenomenon, a psychological principle called social proof. All right, let's start with a puzzle that has probably annoyed every single one of us at some point. Canned laughter, right? We all know it's fake. It's obvious, it's cheesy, and pretty much every survey shows people can't stand it. So why on earth is it still on almost every sitcom? Okay, so here's the thing. There's this huge disconnect between what we think about laugh tracks and what TV executives know. And they're not clueless. They are following the data. Research shows that even the most fake, artificial laugh tracks make us laugh longer and more often. Get this. It even makes bad jokes seem funnier. The mystery isn't why they use it. The real mystery is why, against all our better judgment, it actually works on us. To figure this out, we've got to zoom way out. This isn't just about TV shows. It's about a fundamental shortcut our brain uses to navigate the world, kind of like an automatic pilot that just kicks in whenever we're not sure what to do. This brings us right to the heart of it, the principle of social proof. Basically, it just means that when we're in doubt, we follow the crowd. We see a behavior as more correct just because we see other people doing it. It's our brain's way of saying, hey, a lot of people are doing that, it's probably the right move. This is the culprit behind the canned laughter mystery. We hear laughter, and our brain goes, oh, this must be funny. And you know, this quote from Cavett Robert just nails it. The idea that 95% of us are fundamentally imitators. That means our instinct is to follow, not to lead. It shows that the behavior of the crowd often carries way more weight than any logical argument or proof we could ever offer. It's just a primal shortcut. And the crazy part is, once you see this principle, you start seeing it being used everywhere. Bartenders putting their own money in the tip jar to get things started, that's social proof. Ads telling you a product is the fastest growing or largest selling. They know that feels like proof enough. Nightclubs will literally make people wait outside, even when it's empty, just to create a line and the illusion of popularity. It's all designed to trigger our follow-the-herd instinct. Now, to really get how automatic this is, you have to hear this wild story from biology. A mother turkey will protect and care for anything that makes the cheep cheep sound of her chicks. Scientists even got one to mother a stuffed polecat, which is its natural enemy, just by sticking a recorder inside that played the sound. Our brains have a similar trigger. We hear the cheep cheep of laughter, and our brain's automatic click, whir response kicks in. Click, I hear laughter. Whir, this joke must be funny. And we laugh, often before we've even thought about it. Now look, most of the time, this automatic pilot thing is actually super helpful. It helps us pick a busy restaurant over an empty one, or figure out social norms pretty quickly. But relying on it blindly can be a huge mistake, because sometimes that same mental shortcut doesn't just make us laugh at a bad joke, it can fly us straight into danger. We're talking about things escalating from simple influence to literally matters of life and death. So, back in 1964, a woman named Catherine Genovese was attacked and murdered on her way home in Queens, New York. And this wasn't some quick, silent crime. It was a prolonged, public, and loud assault that happened over more than half an hour. 38. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's the number for neighbors who watched or heard the attack from their apartment windows. 38 respectable, law-abiding citizens, and not a single one of them picked up the phone to call the police until after she was already dead. So the question is, why? Why did 38 good people do nothing? The first explanation people jump to is, big city apathy. The people in cities are cold and uncaring. But a couple of social psychologists, Bibb Latané and John Darley, they had a different and, honestly, a much more disturbing theory. They suggested no one helped precisely because there were so many witnesses. They came up with this term for it, pluralistic ignorance. And it sounds complicated, but here's how it works. Imagine you're one of those witnesses. You hear a scream. Is it a real attack or just a loud argument? You're not sure. So what do? You look out your window and you see other lights on, other people in their windows, but nobody's running to the phone. Nobody's panicking. Your brain, using social proof, concludes, well, since nobody else seems concerned, it must not be a real emergency. The tragedy is that every single person is looking at everyone else and thinking the exact same thing. And get this wasn't just some theory. They actually tested it in a lab, and the results are just chilling. A single person, all alone, will help someone in an emergency 85% of the time. But if you add just 4 more people to the group, that number plummets down to 31%. So that whole idea of safety in numbers, it's a total myth. In an emergency, it's actually the opposite. So we see this powerful effect gets supercharged under 2 key conditions. The first is uncertainty, which we just saw with the bystander effect. When we don't know what to do, we look to others. But the second condition is similarity. We are most influenced by the actions of people we see as being like us. And when you combine those two, well, you get an even more disturbing phenomenon. It's called the Werther Effect. It was named after a novel from 1774 where the hero commits suicide, and it sparked this wave of copycat suicides across Europe. A sociologist named David Phillips discovered that this effect is very, very real. After a suicide makes front-page news, the suicide rate in that area spikes. Troubled people, feeling uncertain, see the actions of someone they see as similar, and suicide suddenly seems like a more legitimate option in their minds. But it gets even crazier. It's not just suicides that increase. Phillips's research showed that for a period right after a highly publicized suicide, the number of deaths in commercial airline crashes spikes by an incredible 1,000%. Fatal car accidents also shoot way up. The theory is that many of these are actually hidden copycat suicides influenced by the news. And here's the part that just gives you chills, because it ties everything back to that idea of similarity. If the news story is about a young person's suicide, it's young drivers who get into more fatal car wrecks. If it's an older person, older drivers die in those crashes. Why? Because when we're lost and we're uncertain, we don't just follow anyone. We follow the lead of people just like us, even if it leads to the most tragic end imaginable. Okay, I know that was a lot, and it's super heavy stuff. But the whole point of digging into these dark patterns isn't to be morbid. It's to arm ourselves against them, because knowledge really is power. So how do we recognize this automatic pilot when it's leading us astray and, take back the controls? First off, we just have to get better at spotting the fakes. Like those unrehearsed TV ads where it's just actors pretending to be regular people. If you see it's fake, make a conscious choice to just ignore it. Second, and this is maybe more important, question the crowd. Are all those people changing lanes on the highway because they know something you don't? Or are they all just copying the one car in front of them? Sometimes the crowd isn't wise. It's just a stampede. And look, this might be the single most practical, life-saving thing you take away from this entire explainer. If you are ever the one in an emergency, you have to break the spell for the people around you. Don't just cry for help. Isolate one person, point right at them, make eye contact, remove their uncertainty by giving them a clear, specific command. You, in the blue jacket, call an ambulance. You are literally turning a confused bystander into a rescuer. There's this really powerful image from the old buffalo hunts that kind of sums all of this up. Hunters would start a stampede heading towards a cliff. Now, the buffalo at the very front, they couldn't stop because of the crushing weight of the entire herd pushing from behind. And the ones in the back, they just kept running because that's what all the buffalo in front of them were doing, never looking up to see the cliff that was right ahead. And that really leaves us with one final question. For you, for all of us, our social autopilot. It's efficient, for sure, but it's not always right. So when you feel that powerful, instinctual pull of the crowd, are you going to be the one to disengage just for a moment and look up to see where you're all actually going?